Hello and welcome to the Berkcast, the How to Train a Dragon podcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today, are you ready for an episode nobody asked for? Not like somebody really asked for any episodes in the past, but
Not from
really
us.
nobody. Yeah, but no one really asked for this, right? But well, just to give a quick context for this, because I was in a mall shopping for stuff, and then I went to the game store there, just to see what's up or what's on sale, and didn't really plan on anything. And then I see this game, which we talked about on the show before. It was just there. I think it was even a few days before its official release date. Like this supposedly came out yesterday, right?
On PC it came out yesterday. I think it came out on the consoles earlier. Yeah, on consoles it came out February 1st. On PC it came out February 15th.
Oh, okay. So
Or it's weird because they have it listed as global release on February 1st, but US release on February 15th. Not sure what they have going there, but okay. Don't
basically,
know.
basically, the thing is, I had no idea this was even supposed to come out so early. But and nobody talked about it. Even the DreamWorks Facebook and Twitter only posted stuff about it yesterday. So I just walked into a store, not not really expecting to find anything, and all of a sudden I see this for a relatively cheap price, and I said, we'll probably have to talk about it at some point, so might as well. It really felt like I was there for a reason, and and I got it. So let's talk. I played it. I beat it. So let's talk about Dragon's Dawn of New Riders, the new
We
How to Train a Dragon video game for PC, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and Sony PlayStation 4, which is the version I personally played.
We should also mention I have not played it. I have seen the
Yeah,
cutscenes from the game at the bare minimum just to have an idea so I can be here to
yeah.
talk. But no, I have not
Cutscenes,
played the
quote
game.
unquote, but we'll get
We'll
to
get
that
to
when
that.
we get to it. Yeah, we'll
And
get
that's
to
why
that.
and this is also the reason why Rush isn't here. He decided to saddle me with this episode and I have to put up with HC for this one. Yay.
Well, he
As
also
normally
had
what Rush
some.
does.
He also had some actual important stuff to
No, that's not
handle,
true. He
and
didn't. He didn't.
he
That's not
does.
true.
He does.
He's lying.
Uh, sure, I'm lying. Said
I meant
said the liar
Rush.
of the. Mm, Whatever. I'm not going to argue this with you, but anyway, Dragons, Dawn of New Riders. So I guess the best way to start is it's not bad.
It didn't look bad from watching it. Like it doesn't. It looks like it's made in Unity, and it doesn't look bad for what it is. Like I can't say too
Like,
much on the
although the,
mechanics, but
I
it
like
looks fine.
although this much, it's not the worst thing. It's not the worst taint on the How to Train a Dragon franchise. Like this franchise had worse stuff related to it. Um, ironically enough, in the field of video games, more than anything else. But yeah, there were worse How to Train a Dragon stuff out there, and I'm assuming there will be worse stuff out there in the future. Um, I guess if I have to rate this quickly, I'll go with a 6 out of 10.
Fair enough. It seems like it'd be kind of around that 5 or 6 out of 10 game.
Yeah, it's not the worst, it's not the best. It has some interesting ideas in it, but you can tell it's aimed at a very young audience. Like
Hmm.
if I have to describe this in a few words, I could probably call it a baby's first Zelda game. Like if your kid likes Zelda, wants to try a Zelda game out, specifically the 2D ones, Link to the Past, Link Between Worlds, Minish Cap and stuff,
Hmm.
all of those. But these games might be a bit too hard for him. So this could be an okay game to ease your child into it. and understand how a Zelda game works mechanically. It's obviously not as good as any Zelda game. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's very reminiscent of the style, and when you play it, it's obvious. So, and we'll get to it more as we talk about the mechanics. But,
Watching the cutscenes and stuff, it definitely put me in the mind of some of those old PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 kind of action, story-driven platformer stuff you would see.
Yeah, platformers, you can jump in this game.
I know that. I know that, but, well, I didn't know that, but it that's what it put me in the mind of. Some of those older kind of story-driven games. They weren't great, but they were fun enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't anything like too hard about them, but they served their purpose pretty well, and some of them went on to become pretty popular.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't see this way getting ready if that's a word I'll use, but yeah, it's again, it's fun. It's fine for what it is. It's not terrible. I can tell you, I expected a lot less from what I actually got. So now to actually talk about the game, and so I'll just talk about it. And Wolf, if you have at any point you want to ask me a question about something, go ahead. I'll try to make this quick so it won't be just me. So, like I said, typical. You'll hear me say Zelda a lot to get used to it, but you control both our original the character Scribble and his dragon Patch.
I should say there's a small image of them on the Berkcast little thumbnail thing you can see right quick.
Yeah,
That's what they kind of look like.
Yeah, I have no idea what Wolf did with the thumbnail. He just told me he did. I'll see it with the rest of the people once the episode is out. But yeah. Anyway, you control Scribble and Patch.
Mm-hmm. I get to play around.
Yeah. So Scribble and Patch are our two main characters. The other riders are not playable, if anyone is going to ask this. But the thing is that you basically control Patch and Scribble at the same time, but you can choose who's in the lead. Like you start with obviously Scribble because he's the human, but when you get Patch later on, you could actually play as him. And both of them control very similarly. Like both of them walk around and have a dodge button, which is also how you run faster. And then there are the attacks. So Scribble uses the melee weapons, which is you have an axe, a sword, and a hammer. And Patch has 3 different types of breath. He has an ice breath, an electricity breath, which is new for this franchise in a sense. Actually, no, there's the Skrill. What am I talking about?
Yeah, the Skrill.
And yeah, so he basically has all. He starts with ice, and then he gets electricity, and finally he gets fire. So there's that. And now, along the game, you'll encounter enemies, which are my first problem with the game for many reasons. 1, they're dumb. 2, when they're not dumb, they block all of your attacks. And 3, when they hit you, they can easily chain combo you. Like, it's not like that you get hit and then become invisible for a bit, allowing you to run. No. Like, they can drain your health.
So they stun lock you.
In a sense, yeah. Especially bosses.
Wonderful.
And yeah, that's one problem with them in the game. And also, if you think you can, if you can take down enemies with a Patch and not Scribble, that's all I'll have to say about that. Because Patch's breaths are not useful in combat. They're more for puzzles. And ironically enough, you have a better chances of taking out someone with a sword than with a fire blade. Wonderful logic there.
Mm-hmm. Well, since combat doesn't sound that great, how are the puzzles?
But one thing I'll say about the combat, which annoys me to no end, is that whenever you walk in and out of a room, then you beat an enemy, you go to another room, and then you understand, I need to do something in another room in order to progress here. So you go back to the room you came from, and the enemies respawn.
Well, that's nothing too bad.
Trust me, when you are when you're walking around in dungeons and trying to figure out what to do, and in my case, doing it over and over again because the game didn't register something it needed to register, it becomes annoying.
But it sounds like it might be a bit of a Metroidvania in that way because a lot of their enemies would respawn once you left the room too.
Yeah, but
and you would need to do backtrack. Did you have to backtrack on purpose, or was it just you needed to backtrack because the game broke? Like,
most of the time, because whenever there's another thing about how the game is played is that you basically have three main worlds or islands in this case. You have three main islands, and once you land on an island, there's the campsite, which is a linear level. Like you just go from screen to screen until you reach the end, fight enemies every once in a while, solve some simple puzzles, and then you get to the dungeon. Now, the dungeon, you can pretty much, if you can walk into a room, then you can walk through it. You can walk into it, no problem. And then your job is to see how you can go further away from each of the rooms you have access to at the beginning. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the dungeons are the open part of the game. And again, just like Zelda, at the end there's a boss, you beat the boss, you move on to the next level. Simple stuff, really. But there was, in the second dungeon of the game, there was a point where you had like these ice blocks, which you need to hit in order to push them around, and then, they move from the right square to the left square, and that allows you in some way and it triggers a switch or something. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, we've all seen puzzles like that before. Yeah.
Yeah. So logically, I try to use the hammer for this because why won't I use the hammer? It's the strongest weapon. So I try it and it doesn't work for some reason. So I'm wandering around the dungeon aimlessly, trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong, encountering all these enemies, wasting their health potions and stuff, until I said, you know what, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm going to look up a YouTube guide, which hopefully I find. There's a YouTube guide for this. And then what do I find out? You need to use your hammer to move the blocks, but for some reason the game didn't register it the first time. So I was right, but the game decided, you know what? I hate HC, so I'm going to make him suffer for a few minutes.
Fair enough. I don't blame the game.
Yeah, I think because I did text Wolf the game box that I held after I bought it, and I was like, okay, I think he's sending me vibes here. I know, like only one person will do this to me, but but yeah. So that's that. Along the way, so that's the basic thing. Along the way you open chests, and chests can either give you something important like a weapon, which the game does only once, by the way. You only get one weapon from a chest, which is the axe in the first dungeon, sorry. And every once in a while you get like ingredients. What are the ingredients? They are currency. And currency is used in two places. There's an equipment shop, and there's a gear upgrade. The equipment shop. Guess what character is the shop?
Well, Astrid trades you herbs, I saw, from what I watched,
Yeah.
and Gobber's the one who upgrades your equipment.
Yeah, so for all intents and purposes, Astrid is your shop.
Astrid is Johan.
You can... one way to look at it. And that's actually something in the story that I found ridiculous, is that Astrid's reason to be in the shop in the dungeon. It's like, yeah, we saw you going in there and we came here to help, but then it's like, you're not going to help me fight the Stormcadder at the end of the dungeon. So
no. I saw her offer one time where she said she would help in one of the cutscenes, and Scribbler, the main character, said, "No, you can't help. We got to do this on our own. It's our thing." She's like, "Okay, fine by me."
Yeah, but that's the last. not the. If
Still,
I recall,
she offered to help at one point.
yeah, but at the end of the game, where the kid has taken down the villain twice.
That's details. Details. She offered to
Uh,
help. It got there eventually. That's all that matters.
if you say so, I'm
It's
not going
better
to
than
argue this.
Hiccup, who spends the entire time just
Yeah,
gone.
Hiccup is basically Hiccup could have basically not be in the game, honestly. Mm, Like you could have cut him out, and nothing of importance would have been lost. But yeah, but anyway, we have Astrid, which by the way, I just love that whenever you approach Astrid, the characters in the cutscenes don't really talk. There are several voice clips. I have no idea if it's America Ferrera. If it is,
It's
not noise, I guess. If it's not, who cares?
it's the voice the cutscenes are all text based. Like everything in the game is text based. There are like when he says voice clips, he means literal like, hey, it's a sound the character makes.
Yeah.
Like
But
they
for
give you
some reason,
Toothless's laughter, where they just go, "Ha, hey,"
yeah.
and that's
But
it.
whenever you talk to Astrid, either as a shop or in the cutscenes, she'll just have this voice clip.
Yep.
And it's like
Every time, by the way.
yeah, and it's like this is
There's
a
nothing.
very weird
I have to
clip.
imagine that was so great to get used to because it's nothing new from what I saw. Like every time I saw it in the cutscene, it was always the exact same voice clip.
Yeah,
At the
like
very,
I think every character has like 2, 3 if you're real lucky voice clips.
Scribbler had a few. It sounded like a few different ones.
And you know what's funny is
As
that
did
in
Patch and
there,
Hiccup
there
too, but
are
Astra just had the one,
yeah.
and that
But
one.
here's the thing with Scribble. I can bet you that the voice clips for the cutscenes and the clips for the gameplay are 2 different people. Like I'm willing to bet. Again, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, right? But still, it's noticeable.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that it was probably made on a bit of a budget and with some time
Yeah,
constraints.
it's obviously.
So,
But for a budget, if we can talk about graphics for a second, I do like the character chibi designs.
I don't know if I'd call this chibi necessarily, but from what I saw, but it's definitely they're kind of smaller versions of themselves, and they don't look bad. Like I said, it doesn't look bad. It's a bit of a cute art style. You can tell who the characters are. They don't look terrible, although Toothless doesn't look great.
Yeah, Toothless is suffered a bit.
Stormfly looks great. I think Stormfly actually looks really good, but Toothless didn't make the transition very well, I feel.
And it's kind of weird because this
look at
is
that image. That's Toothless there. You can kind of see.
But it is interesting that
great.
It is interesting though that the art style is still could be. Some people describe it as cutesy, and it's honestly weird that Toothless is the one that didn't go do the transition all that well. Oh well.
It's probably, again, I think that probably comes down to Hiccup and Toothless aren't actually in the game as much as, say, Astrid and Stormfly. And I think Astrid, and so it feels to me like they spent more time on Astrid and Stormfly, and Gobber as well, surprisingly enough.
Yeah. Also,
as well as the main characters. Like they all look a lot better than Hiccup and Toothless do.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of Gobber, when you see Grump, he shrunk. like you look at this and it's like this thing carries Gobber around. No, like Peter will be all over this game. But yeah, so what were we talking about? So yeah, Astrid is your shop, Gobber is grades, and so that's these characters part in the game. And honestly, if there's anything else I can talk about, the puzzles are.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. How are the puzzles? Since it does seem like it's a slightly puzzle focused game.
Yeah, so for the most part, they're pretty simple. Like every once in a while, you get an okay, that's actually kind of clever, but they don't. But that's really the amount of credit I'm willing to give it.
So fairly simple to solve.
like maybe I do need to think about, oh, okay, I need to use I need to use the electricity breath in order to get something to work. But then when I do that, I realize, oh, okay, there's something in the way I need to clear first and then do it. So it's not, but and and here's the thing, I can see a potential here for actually kind of unique puzzles. But again, that compliment I just gave, that reaction I just described, this is the only type of reaction these puzzles got out of me.
So it's nothing that's really going to make you think really hard about
No,
what
except
you're
except
looking
for
at.
yeah, but then there's one part in the final dungeon, which usually when they want to ease you into something that will later become a puzzle, they tell you like, oh, okay, like this body of water, use Patch's ice breath in order to walk on it. Okay,
Mhm.
fine. Then like, oh, okay, there's like a dragon vine, use fire. Okay, but then in the final dungeon, there's you remember what I told you before about the blocks that you need to push with your hammer?
Yeah.
Okay, so these boxes, boxes, let's call it boxes, go all the way on a trail, right? Like they go
Yeah,
all three squares.
it's old ice block puzzles. We've seen it in plenty of
Yeah,
games. Like Zelda's had this
but
before too.
true, exactly. So, but then but then you like get to fields where you need to push the block only one square, in order for it to stand on a switch,
Hmm.
which you need to open, which you need to open something.
And normally
So
you'll have more than one block, so you use one block to block it and then push it.
yeah, but then when you do it with the one block, you need to do it for the other one as well.
Well, normally they'll give you
And
enough blocks to complete the puzzle.
there's the thing. There are only two, just as much as the thing, and just as much as the switches. So you're like, okay, I put the one there. What now? I'll need to sacrifice the other, but then I can progress. And what the game doesn't tell you is that Patch's fire breath can melt both the ice on the floor and on the cube, and that allows you to move it only one space. So
Uh,
uh, yeah,
okay.
so
That's a bit
so
out of nowhere.
yeah, and so again, if the game kind of eased me into this, like you could do this in some form fashion. I'm like, okay, but when nothing besides complete boredom and honestly hopelessness gets me to do this,
To be fair
that's
to the game, you do have a dragon with fire breath and it is ice, so
yeah.
the
But
thought should
you
occur.
yeah, but the thing is that you get the fire breath like a few minutes before this. This is the
Ah.
last.
Okay, so you didn't have
This is
time to experiment with it beforehand. Okay,
yeah.
fair enough.
This is the last breath you get in the game.
And this is what the only time you've seen this puzzle, or
It kind of comes back afterwards.
but never before this though.
Never before this.
Yeah, that's not great design because your players have had no experience with it whatsoever, so you're expecting them to get something that they're not going to necessarily get right away or right offhand, and that can put some people off and turn some people away. If I have to turn to an
Mhm.
online guide in order to figure out how to solve a puzzle, then your puzzle may not necessarily be the best designed.
Yeah. Anyway, the next thing I guess we can talk about boss fights. Um.
From what I saw, these looked okay-ish. It's basically a Titan Wing Dragon being controlled by some mixture of herbs by the main bad guy in this game, and you have to knock off 3 orbs that are connected to them.
Yes. But again, the thing is that you do hit the dragon in different ways. You don't just wailing at them with your weapons. You
Mm-hmm.
like
Like it seems
like
like
you need.
the boss fights are also a bit of a puzzle fight too.
Mhm. Yeah, the dragon part, and because after you hit the dragon in the ways I want you to, the main bad guy comes in. You beat him or her up, and that's the part that annoys me. Is that whenever you get to this part, the okay, let's get this out of the way. The bad guy is a girl, okay? I'm going to refer to it as a she because it's a she.
I mean, it
Not that
seems
big of a.
pretty obvious, doesn't it? Oh, you're
Yeah,
trying
but
not to spoil. It's. I think we're in spoiler territory. If you were watching this, you by this point, I don't think you care about spoiler territory.
because we haven't got to the
Spoilers.
story itself yet. So spoilers in a bit. But the main bad guy is a girl. Really, nothing much to it.
Okay.
But the thing about her is that she does change her attacks every few patterns, but like you do something to the dragon, you take down her health bar. You do something to the dragon, you take down her health bar. Repeat 3 times. So whenever she shows up, she can like block every attack. And like I said, when she stun locks you, she stun locks you. And and there's this thing that you get health potions that to get some of your health back. But then there's also this thing that in order to use it, you need to hold the button. And if you just press the button, nothing happens. And by the time the thing loads and you use the potion, you're already dead.
Okay.
Now people will probably bring this up that you can pause the game and then go to your items list and use the potions and power ups through there. But when you're in the middle of a fight, your brain doesn't necessarily get the instinct to pause, go and use the potion. You want to use a quick one. You know what I mean? You need to be quick. So
What we're learning here, ladies and gentlemen, is that a children's game has beaten HC.
mhm. You know what? You know. Well, but to be fair, that boss fight was the only time I actually died in the game. It's not a hard game other than that.
No, it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like it's fairly simple, and it's made to be very simple, which is fine.
Like I said, baby's first Zelda game.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else do I have to say before we go for the plot? I think I pretty much covered everything.
Yeah, I don't have too many questions for it. Again, it sounds like a fairly simple game with nothing too major
Yeah.
to talk about mechanics wise. It, from what I saw, it has, for your weapons and armor and stuff, a little bit of crafting, and what you get, you can kind of customize your character a little bit, I suppose you could say. And the look of it, like I said before, it looks fine. Flight mechanics, I do know you can fly around in the game. Is that fun?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, there's the flight. Yeah, actually, funny story about this. I wasn't expecting any flying, and apparently no one else did because I was talking to someone on the Valhalla server. If whoever's watching this, you know who you are. But anyway,
Better be watching this.
yeah. If not, but
It's a threat.
anyway, he asked me after I said I got the game and I played for a bit. He asked me how the dragonfly is, and he asked this in complete sarcasm. It's like there's no way they're gonna put dragonfly in this game, and I said, you know what? I'm surprised they put it there at all, and it's actually it can be kind of entertaining. And then he's like, wait, what? Like he wasn't ready for this.
But how was it though? From what I saw, it looked simple, but it looked like it would be okay-ish for a bit.
Like it's not like the rest of the game. It's nothing all that evolved. It's nothing all that you basically just have a button that makes the dragon go forward, and then you control the altitude with the analog stick. And you can do barrel rolls, which you won't need to do barrel rolls because there's literally nothing that attacks you in these places.
So it's literally just a, hey, here's the thing that you can do for fun, but there's literally no point to it.
Yeah, and I'll
Fair
admit there is something that gets me giddy about dive bombing into the ocean and at the last second pull up and return to the sky. There's something, it's something. It's something that you feel good about it for the one time.
That's fair enough.
But anything afterwards, it's there. It's harmless.
Fair
It's
enough.
like you could take it out and you would lose nothing, but you know
It's
what?
nice to
Credit
have.
for credit is due.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's also actually there is actually a part. It's kind of story related and spoilers, so I'll get to it later. But there is actually one very effective part with it near the end of the game.
Okay.
So
I think I know what you're talking about, but we'll see. Well, if that's all the mechanic stuff out of the way, I guess we can jump into the story.
yeah. So I think for all intents and purposes, this is the last. If you want chronologically, this takes place. This is the closest to Hidden World in terms of chronologically, in terms of chronological order. Like this is after the graphic novel
Yeah,
in that sense.
because this does make mention of the graphic novels, or something from the graphic
Yeah,
novels, at least, anyways.
yeah, and that's like again, since we're in a spoilers territory, we're going to assume that you know what the story is about, so we're
Or
going to
you
jump
don't
around.
care.
Yeah, or you don't care. We're going to jump with stuff around. So, in terms of yeah, they do mention Dragonvine Island, like the islands they found the Dragonvine on. It's the final level in the game. So you go there, and then the villain of the game, Near. I think you pronounce her name is Near.
I think it's air. EIR. I think it's
Air.
pronounced air,
Oh,
yeah.
it's E.
Yeah.
Air. Okay. So
Like
Air,
like
the
the
main.
word air, but just spelt differently.
Yeah. So her thing is that she's actually from Nepatin, the island from Serpent Cell,
Oh,
which
did not know that. Okay.
yeah, she does mention it. Like when they get to her backstory, they do mention what was it? They do mention like she mentions what happened to her village and stuff. So she does mention Nepatin in
A neat little thing.
so yeah. So and again, it's also worth noting that Richard Hamilton wrote this game, and you can tell you
yeah.
can tell that. And kudos to the guy. He did because they could have just come to, hey, we need you to. They could have come to anyone. Hey, we need you to write something about how to turn a dragon. Here are the movies. Do whatever. But no, they got someone who has actually worked with this universe and has helped develop this universe through the show and the novels. So it is cool that they actually got him, and he's actually connecting helps connect everything together.
Mm-hmm.
It's like again the fact that she's from Nepatin doesn't really matter a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. You don't need to read the graphic novels in order to understand what's going on in this game. Let's not kid ourselves.
And
But
you need none of that to understand what's going on in the movie. But it's a nice little
yeah,
shout out. It's a nice little
yeah,
side
it's
thing.
mhm. Because it does show that they did know that fans would probably be interested in picking it up or at least look into it. Get it for their kids and stuff. So it's nice that there's like an extra effort there for fans. Credit where credit is due.
A nice little thing for those who've kept up with all of the franchise, not just the movies. A nice little tidbit.
And also, so let's just talk about the main thing here is that Scribble, our main character, he has amnesia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's forget the fact that I have terrible experience, both terrible and amazing experience with video game protagonists with amnesia. For terrible, I refer you to Shadow the Hedgehog. For brilliant, I'll refer you to Gravity Rush. But here's the thing about Scribble's amnesia. It doesn't go anywhere.
No, from what I saw, it's very much mentioned at the beginning of the game, and then there's a few little tidbits like, hey, I remember this thing. Hey, I remember this thing. But that's it. It doesn't go anywhere else. And there's no resolution to it either.
Yeah, so Scribble is kind of like, you could make the argument, it's a fan fiction character or like a self-installed character. You know what? You could make the argument, but at the end of the day, there are interesting stuff around him, like, he has amnesia. Okay, what is his backstory? And I also kind of hint that he might have a connection to Bolt, the guy who wrote the original Book of Dragons. So,
Yeah, Bork the
okay,
Bold, yeah.
yeah. So, okay, that's interesting, but the game doesn't ever do something with it. And I was waiting for a twist because there is a line in one of the dungeons where he actually says, "I wonder if Bort and I are somehow connected."
You keep saying
And
Bort, it's Bork with a K.
oh,
It sounds like you're saying Bort. Maybe it's just my headphones or the connection, but it sounds like you're saying Bort,
I,
not Bork.
I think I did say Bort now. So okay, so Bork.
Oh, then
Sorry.
turn in your How to Train Your Dragon fan card, HC. You're
Yeah.
terrible.
Oh, boo-hoo. I made a mistake once anyway. Bork.
I've
Happy?
never made mistakes, HC.
Sure.
I've never mispronounced a character's name, HC. Not once. Ever.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Well, go back to one of the previous 100 episodes and come back to me later. But
There's
anyway,
one you could go to specifically, but I'm surprised you don't remember.
Well, I'm trying to remember to say bulk next time I mention it. So
I hope you mess up
that...
again.
But anyway, so they keep hinting Scribble and Bulk have some sort of a connection with each other. But again, this doesn't go anywhere. His amnesia, it's never resolved. Like you could take both of these things out of the story and nothing would have changed at all. And then there's the entire and then we have Patch. That's actually something I wanted to get your opinion on, because I know you like all of this world building stuff. So the main thing about Air is that she's making dragons herself, like not natural dragons, but she creates them as like experiments. And Patch is a result of that. And Patch is a result of that experiment. And that kind of go. So what do you think about the idea that we have, not natural dragons? Like people can make dragons. What do you think about this?
I don't see anything wrong with it inherently. It doesn't really fit into How to Train Your Dragon. I guess in a way, considering you have Hiccup, who's mastered flight hundreds of years before Da Vinci ever even attempted it, it doesn't necessarily feel out of place that you have a mad scientist running around in How to Train Your Dragon world, being able to create dragons. Something that we've still not mastered as of now, being able to create life from things.
Yeah, scientists, stop with world hunger and get on that, please.
Yeah, it'd be great. Make dragons for us now. Anyways, moving on.
Hashtag make dragons real. Let's get this trend.
I mean, scientists have said already that they can make cat girls. There's just no interest in doing so. So if they can make cat girls a reality, why not dragons? That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, I don't hate it. Like, I don't think it's anything bad or terrible. But, I mean, also at the same time, this isn't something I'm taking inherently seriously. Like, if I saw this in the movie, I probably would question it more. I would probably go,
And again, it's not something that they necessarily explain how she does it.
No,
like it's just research.
It's literally just, she created this dragon. How? I would like to know how. She just did.
And one of the things about Patch is that he's constantly aging throughout the game, and like there's a point where she tells them like, Scribble, if you hand Patch over to me, I'll make it that he'll stop growing. And he says,
go ahead.
And like Scribble does tell her that because the way she intends to do it is that she has these mind control dragon vine potions,
similar to Grimmel. Basically what Grimmel does.
Yeah, basically. And also, by the way,
we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Just finish this one.
We'll get to it. But she has like these mind control bubbles that she puts on dragons, and that's how she controls them.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when you encounter white dragons like this in the game, you are encouraged to attack those for maximum damage. You can attack the dragon as well, but nothing happens to it at the end, but less damage is done. So anyway, she does tell Scribble like, if I'll put this on him, he'll stop aging. But it's like, yeah, but but he'll still be under your control, and you won't treat him as a free dragon. He doesn't deserve it and stuff. And it's like, I don't know like how. I don't see how mind controlling it will make it stop growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the answer. Like, it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Again,
So
it's not one of those things I'm going to scrutinize too hard, considering I know what this is meant for and who it's meant for and what it's meant to do. So I'm not going to
Yeah.
scrutinize it too hard. I suppose you could say, oh, it's the combination of herbs she's using in her, in what she's using to mind control dragons that would stop him from aging or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
The point
But
is
then like can we talk about that connection now?
yeah. I was just gonna say, like, we should mention, like, the aging process for Patch is very quick. Like, the game makes a point to say that Patch ages much faster than any other dragon, and this is because of the fact that he's not a regular dragon. He was created. He's a chimera dragon, which is basically, this is why he can use a lightning breath, ice breath, and fire breath, because he's made up of a bunch of different dragon species, and he has
Yeah.
bits and pieces from all these different species. Hence the name Patch for patchwork.
Yes.
And it's and the game makes a point, like, the game's story is kind of a point of finding out one, helping Scribbler remember everything, and two, helping Patch stop the aging process. Like, that becomes the big point you're trying to do at some point in the story.
And
one of these things is resolved.
Yes, which is Patch.
Yeah. Scribbler's
But
we don't get anything on Scribbler. Or his name, his past, none of that's remembered. The amnesia's still there. We'll get to that in a second. But yes, Patch, go ahead.
Yeah, so regarding Patch, so the thing I talked about the flight is that after the final boss, you have this pretty short flying segment where you can't really do anything except going forward. And you can feel like Patch is aging. You can feel that he's
getting older and slower. Like, it does show
that he's
it.
all. Yeah, and in terms,
It's clever.
is a good. Yeah, it's clever, and it is an interesting way to get me engaged.
Yeah.
So you know what? Good on them for. Again, you can tell it's low budget. You can tell it was probably made for quick buck, but you can tell somebody there somebody there realized that even kids can be a bit intelligent.
Well,
and I appreciate it for that.
Like, things like this is something games can do really well, right? Because they can say, hey, this mechanic you've used and you've gotten used to, let's do something story-wise that either takes that mechanic away or makes that mechanic harder to give a much deeper emotional impact. And so when you've used this flight mechanic and it's been really fun and you're flying around and having fun, and all of a sudden it's maybe not taken away from you, but it feels slower. It feels, you can feel the age in Patch. You can feel that he's getting much older very quickly. You can feel like he's a much older dragon and having a harder time carrying around Scribble as well. So it's neat to see them use the mechanic to help tell the story. Like, that's clever. More games should do that. And it was a little bit surprising seeing what is very much, I would consider, a fairly low budget, quickly made game do something like that. That's clever, and I appreciate that. And I do have to say, like, kudos to the developers behind the game, because that takes some kind of forethought, right? More higher budget games should do stuff like this because it's clever to do, and because it can really impact things a lot more.
True.
So, like, again, kudos to them for that.
Yeah. But then there's the entire thing that Patch does die at the end. And they take him to Vanaheim, which, again, continuity. Love it. That they actually referenced Vanaheim from the show. But then while he's there, it's like, and again, I know kids' game and everything, but at the same time, you can say that the trilogies that it's a trilogy of kids' movies. You could argue that, but then again,
well, it is.
You have.
It's made for kids.
Yeah, but then you have something like Hiccup loses leg or Toothless killing Stuek and stuff that does show you, oh, this is like a bit, this is dark, and you get to this where to that scene where Patch dies because of his rapid aging, and it's like, oh, you know what? I was ready to give them credit for it, but then it was like, nope. Apparently, because he's self-made and not a natural dragon, whenever he dies, he goes back to the egg and is then reborn. It's like the phoenix in Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm. But instead of returning as the original Phoenix, he's slightly different this time. Like, again, using new dragon parts, essentially, on the fly.
Yeah.
Which is a little weird, but again, not looking too closely.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes I thought, like, you could have gone all the way with it, because then because then that flight segment feels a lot less impactful on the second.
I'm guessing.
If you go for a second point.
I'm guessing you can continue playing after you beat the story.
Yeah, but
that's why.
You mentioned this, but at the same time, if you continue after you beat the game also tells you this before you go to the final boss. You time travel back to before the final boss.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. So yeah, they could have went all the way.
Like it goes the Ratchet and Clank to where so it's like like Patch is cute. Don't get me wrong, but man, would that have been impactful?
It would have been something for a little game like this. Can't deny.
Mm-hmm. And they are supposedly trying to sequel by that, with Scribble and Patch going to find the answers about Scribble's past. But I don't know. Do you think it will get a sequel? Probably depends on sales. But then again, who is interested in this?
That's what I don't get. It's like, I guess they're setting it up for it, but I mean, the only reason this came out, let's be honest, I would say, is because of the third movie coming out.
It's the Hidden World tie-in game. Let's not, because
a decent tie-in game comparatively, right? Like, I can't complain. Mm-hmm. Like, in terms of, like, a lot of these games are essentially, they're looked at as shovelware, and they're called shovelware because most of the time they're very bad games. This is actually a decent game. Like, there's nothing terrible with this one. It's nothing to write home about. There are much better games you could play, but if you're looking to waste a few hours and have some fun with How to Train Your Dragon, you're not gonna go wrong with this game. So that's like, again, someone.
It's not the How to Train Your Dragon 2 game, okay?
Yeah.
Like these are leaps in quality, okay?
Someone behind this production cared enough to make it halfway decent and make it something that kids could enjoy, essentially. Which, again, kudos.
Yeah. Anyway, where was I? So the one thing I want to mention about Air is that they constantly refer to a partner she once had who apparently betrayed her, and that partner is constantly referred to as G.
And this is someone that Scribbler has a past with as well, apparently, that he followed around and worked with too. I think it's pretty obvious who G's supposed to be.
Like, How to Train Your Dragon fans will listen to that, and obviously, if you're not a How to Train Your Dragon fan, why would you listen to this? Name me one character in this franchise with a G. It's Grimmel. Let's not kid ourselves, people.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone else right off the top of my head.
Like, honestly, okay, we have Drago, we had Dryker.
But that's not.
We have Krogan.
That's, again, I'm trying to think with people with a G, and the only one that comes to mind is from the book. It's Grimbeard the Ghastly. That's who it is.
Yeah, but again, that's the book.
But it doesn't mean they can't bring Grimbeard the Ghastly back for no reason out of nowhere for this
game.
But
like, dude, let's not kid ourselves. They won't do that.
I mean, you say that. You don't know.
Like, something, if they are making, and it ends up being that guy, I am willing to bow down.
For what, though? It would be even dumber than Grimmel.
Yeah, honestly, I can see why hint on Grimmel because again, tie-in game.
Hmm.
But mm. But yeah, so there's supposedly a connection to Grimmel, which again, it's in, but and let's say it's Grimmel because honestly, and so it is interesting to connect Grimmel to someone from Napateen in the graphic novels, and they're using something from the dragon root, which is introduced in the show. So I like that connection between all the medias,
Yeah,
and it
it's a
does
nice
help
little
to.
thing.
Mhm. And then the last thing I really want to talk about the story is the terror mail that the character that Scribble sends to Berk and then back. That
Hmm.
you like the other characters like you do hear from Fishlegs and Snotlout and the twins and Balka and Eret, but it's all through letters,
Hmm.
all through the dragon mail. And it's fine. The character's personality does go. By the way, fish meat is is mentioned in this game, so there you go. But so there's that, but at the same time, and you can tell the personalities from the letters, which is cool. But at the same time, what Hiccup is in there, and he basically has no reason to be outside of his the face of the franchise. So why not actually put the others in there? Eh,
Again, probably just didn't have the time to model them properly, stuff like that.
probably. Mhm. Also, I do appreciate that at one point in the game, like one of the levels is Volka's sanctuary,
Hmm.
which, by the way, Hiccup refers to his mother by her first name at one point. Good on you, Hiccup. But at one point in the level, you actually go by the body of Omelette.
Really,
Yeah,
you actually get to see the body of Omelette.
like it's covered in
Okay,
snow, but you can see his head, and Scribble does comment on that.
huh? Neat. That's a neat little
Yeah.
thing. I give them credit for that one.
Hmm.
Hasn't
So
it
there
been a
you go.
year though?
Yeah, basically.
Shouldn't he be decayed?
Well, snow, so there's probably.
Yeah, but it's in the middle of the ocean. Like her sanctuary isn't exactly an island. It's literally just in the middle of the ocean, essentially.
Well, the game treats it as the ice level, so the excuse is that it's kind of buried in snow, but you can tell its head.
I don't know about that one. Thinking more on it, that one has some eh, questions. I have
Like I love how
questions.
we talk. I love how we talk about someone creating dragons from scratch because science, and this is the part you're like, yeah, I'm not sure about this.
I mean, that one makes sense though. HC.
Yeah, I know. It's just
That one make it's
regarding
perfect.
betwixt.
It makes perfect sense that you could create a dragon from scratch. There's nothing fallible about that whatsoever. That's sound science right there, HC.
Mhm.
Sound
Okay,
science.
okay, fair enough, fair enough. Um, is there anything else from the story that you've seen that you want to talk about? I
I,
pretty
I
much.
do want to point out because this one made me laugh a little bit. At the end
Okay.
cutscene, you have Patch die. You have him come back as an egg, and Gobber. A line from Gobber is literally, "What's that egg there? Dragons don't lay eggs." And I'm like, "Do what?"
Yeah. What?
Gobber.
Also, I do love that every time Hiccup mentions Scribble and Patch coming to Berk, Gabber very characteristically with the Eden World actually tells them, "Oh, great, we get another more dragons and people in there. Great, Chief."
Yeah, that was
I like
actually
that.
a nice little callback, a nice little, nod to the movies and a little fun thing. But yeah, I think what they meant was like dragons don't lay eggs when they die, but
Mhm.
the wording is dragons don't lay eggs. That's the wording. Like there's no commas in there, there's no periods in there to set it apart. It's just like, what's that egg doing there? Dragons don't lay eggs. And I'm like, I know what you meant, but what you said is very
Yeah.
wrong. And I had to laugh about that one personally because that one got me a little bit because, we've seen like the Gift of the Night Fury short. Dragons do lay eggs, Gobber. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And you did see it because the eggs literally exploded in your own village. So try again, Gobber.
Yeah.
But
you lose.
That was a fun little thing that I had a bit of a laugh on. But anything else I think I can add? Like I said before, I think I guess final thoughts we can do. Would you recommend the game?
If I'll tell you this, if you're a How to Train a Dragon fan that really wants to know everything How to Train a Dragon, or if you're just for a podcast like me, or if you have kids, that you that you want to get into the franchise, this isn't a bad purchase. Like, if you see it for $20 or something, go for it.
Okay.
You know what? It's like I'm not sure how much it retails. I believe $40.
Let me see. Continue on.
But I won't say it's necessarily worth $40 unless you really have the money to spare. But if you see it for less, if you see it like for 20 or 15 or somewhere, you know what? Go for it. It's really like you'll get your. But keep in mind that if you go for a price of 20 and below, you get what you're paying for. It's not extremely long. It's not extremely challenging. It's not the best mechanically developed game. But if you're a How to Train a Dragon fan, you'll do fine. And again, if you have young kids that you want to get into video games, specifically Zelda, this is a good one to to show them the ropes of how video games work, in a sense. So take it for what it's worth. Have fun.
So, price of this game looks to be about $40.
I'll say it's a bit much for what's actually there.
I was gonna say.
Also,
from what I saw, it doesn't seem like it's worth $40.
Yeah. Also, interestingly enough, there's no platinum trophy for this game in the PlayStation version.
Who cares about trophies and achievements, HC?
One, some people do, believe it or not. Two, it's not necessarily that I care, but lately every game has a platinum in some form or fashion. So I was like, oh, there's actually no platinum trophy. Okay.
Anyone who cares about trophies on PlayStation 4 or achievements on Xbox are weird people. We don't listen to those people.
Depends on what.
We ignore those people. They just
yeah, okay.
They're strange and weird. We don't like those people.
If I know you don't like, I don't personally don't like me anymore.
I'm joking.
But if I got some platinum trophies, does that take away the credibility?
I mean, do you really want to go around showing everybody, look, I got a platinum trophy for Dreamworks Dawn of New Dragons?
Well, actually, I did get the trophy for the Brave video game because it was actually pretty easy to do.
Woo.
Mm-hmm. But then again, like I have a friend with like 40 platinum trophies. I'm not joking, and he like finds the weirdest game to platinum because he needs that collection.
My response is once again, woo.
Yeah, but anyway, like I said, if you see if you see this game for $20-something, you know what? Go for it. You won't regret it. And
from what I saw, it looks and sounds like you could have some fun with it for a little bit.
Yeah. So again, especially if you have kids, then it's a good thing to introduce them to. It's a good first game to.
It seems so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So with that's all for this episode of the. Yeah, you could do way worse. So with that said, that's it for this episode of the Berkcast. We hope you enjoyed. What are your thoughts on Dawn of New Riders? Are you going to pick it up? Has our review changed your mind on the game? Have you played it? Are you interested in some parts of it? Do you want to see a sequel? Whatever your thoughts are, let us know all about that in the comment section below, on our Tumblr, where we are known as Berkcast Team, on our Twitter, where we are known as Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and we are all on the How to Train Dragon Valhalla Discord server. So until next time, I was HC.
And I've been Wolf.
And we will talk to you all next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.